Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we delve into the arrest of Jason Billingsley, the prime suspect in the brutal murder of Pava LaPere, a tech startup CEO in Baltimore. After 2 days on the run, Billingsley, he was finally apprehended at a train station located 30 miles away from where LaPere's lifeless body was discovered. This shocking case raises questions about the criminal justice system, repeat offenders, and the need for enhanced measures to protect society when someone like Jason gets out. Join us as we explore the timeline of events, the investigation, and the potential ramifications of this heinous crime. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. On the morning of Monday, September 25th, Baltimore police responded to an anonymous 911 call, and when they reached the luxury Mount Vernon apartment of the tech CEO, they found the young woman unfortunately lying dead inside. And then, before you knew it, a big manhunt started for Jason Billingsley. It did not take long for them to know that he was behind this. And worse yet, they were already looking for him in reference to another crime. But here's the problem. No one knew about this. They thought that's a targeted crime. He's not a threat to the public until Pava LaPere was found dead. And when you stop and you think about this, could this have been prevented? Multiple ways this particular incident could have been prevented. And as I shared, on Monday, September 25th, that's when the police responded to an anonymous 911 call. They get there and they find the CEO. And for CEO in this reference, it's Chief Ecosystem Officer, Pava LaPere. And she was a big part of the under 30 club. And so she had this business that was well on its way. Only 26 years old. She had so much life to give and live. She was found bludgeoned to death at her apartment complex on West Franklin Street. This discovery sent shockwaves through the community and initiated a frantic search for the perpetrator. 2 days later, law enforcement officers managed to finally track down the prime suspect, Jason Billingsley, at the MARC train station in Bowie, Prince George's County, right there still in Maryland. And so this significant breakthrough in the investigation finally led to his arrest at 11:10 p.m. last night, September 27th. And we find out that this guy has a history. And today, the assistant chief, he spoke, and he spoke in a few different ways, and you could tell he was angry. At first, you could tell he was probably a little nervous because he kept messing up his words a little bit. And then as his story went on, or as his press conference went on, he got a little more eager to share how upset he was. And that's exactly what it was. He was upset for obvious reasons. You see, we find out that Jason Billingsley, there's a good chance he should have never been even out. And his mother even spoke up. She even said she cannot believe what's happened. As this investigation unfolded, shocking revelations about Jason's criminal past and character emerged. Billingsley's mother, Scarlett, she expressed remorse for the victim's family and struggled to comprehend the motives behind her son's alleged actions. You see, he has a history of sexual crimes. So I don't know how surprised she truly should be, including the brutal strangulation and rape of a woman at knife point, resulting in his 30-year prison sentence. However, he was released early after serving only 7 years due to good behavior. You see, in Maryland, they have what's called diminution. I think that's how you pronounce it. Maryland diminution credit system. Basically, you get credit for good behavior, which to me is extremely odd. So basically, if you are a great citizen on the inside, a model inmate, you have chances of just getting points. And so over time, he accumulated so many points that they let him out without even really keeping supervision on this guy. And of course, he would do something heinous. He wasn't done. So again, he was supposed to serve a 30-year prison sentence. He's let out in 7 years after the parole board said no twice to him. They finally let him out. And so the diminution credits reduce the incarceration period, not the length of a sentence or term of confinement. Now, these credits, they're deducted from an inmate's term of confinement, which is defined as like the length of the sentence for a single sentence. And so he was given good conduct credit. So over time, it built up to the point where they let him out like, 23 years early? That's mind-blowing to me. One of the most disturbing aspects of his criminal record, it seems to be his MO. And that's his modus operandi. He often targeted vulnerable individuals, luring them into his trap by posing as a good Samaritan. Now, obviously, this guy is not a good Samaritan. And so in his most notorious crime in 2013, before this one, Billingsley approached the distressed woman, offering her a place to stay for the night. However, once they got to the location, he strangles and rapeds her at knife point. Despite the severity of his crimes, his original 30-year sentence was reduced and he was prematurely released in October of 2022. And it's stories like that that break my heart, because she should be alive today and he should have been in jail a lot longer, prison a lot longer than 7 years. And his arrest, it not only brings, a sense of relief for the victim's family, but also it highlights the systematic failures that allowed a convicted sex offender to roam free. Because of this system, he was denied parole twice, but due to this diminution credit that he gained, the system, in my opinion, failed her. They have failed Pava LaPere big time. And now we have to say, how can we make this system better? This system allowed a convicted sex offender to roam free. Now, Maryland, they abolished the death penalty in 2013, raising questions about the consequences that would be faced by perpetrators of any heinous crimes like this one. And so the arrest of Billingsley serves as a reminder that flawed rehabilitation and early release policies have devastating consequences for the public's safety, like Pava LaPere. And that's one of the absolute main reasons I do this type of story. Pava LaPere was taken from this world way too soon. Her story deserves to be heard. It is not fair. This wonderful girl was taken off the face of this earth. Her story deserves to be heard. And unfortunately, it's a tragic story. This is the ending of her story. But from by all accounts of who she was, this girl, she left a lot of smiles and dear feelings in people's heart. And that's why it's another tragic reminder of the system has to be conscious of the public. She did not deserve this. And had he served longer time, at least 15 years, if you ask me, let him be a freaking best inmate for 50. I don't even know if it would have made a difference. It might have been in him. We don't know, right? Is that not a fair statement? She deserves better than this. She deserves better. And Billingsley's arrest not only brings a sense of relief, but it leaves us to wonder what would be of her? What would be of her future had he served a longer time for his crime? And now we have to wonder because she was part of the public. She did not do anything to deserve this heinous crime. And we find out that he knew the victims of his previous crime of September 19th of this year. And we'll dive into that, but it's like, this should have been a big warning about alert, alert, alert. And adding to the gravity of the situation, Billingsley was also connected to the attempted arson, murder, and rape that left 2 victims with critical burn injuries on September 19th. That's the arson and rape. And this, according to today's press conference, that was a targeted incident. And the evidence that was gathered in this case ultimately led investigators to link him to Pava LaPere's murder. And that's when they finally said something. These interconnected crimes, they raise concerns about the early release of dangerous individuals like him and the potential for escalating violence, as was done against Pava LaPere. And so this case, it sheds light on the urgent need for comprehensive reform within the criminal justice system. It reveals the failures in rehabilitation, monitoring, and early release policies that put public safety at risk and allow dangerous individuals to remain unchecked. The devastating loss of this talented young CEO has sparked shockwaves throughout the community, emphasizing the importance of protecting society from repeat offenders like Jason Billingsley. As we eagerly await further information from from whatever happens next in this case, we do find out that they finally caught up to him. And this is crucial to reflect on the implications of this case and the pressing need for effective measures to prevent similar incidents in the future. Again, Pava LaPere deserves to be alive today with her family. The system failed her. And, there's so much to this because obviously we're going to find out more, right? She was in the under 30. She had her own articles that she did articles for and that they were published in Technically, which is an online source for entrepreneurs, for technologists and entrepreneurs. And so when you stop and you think, it's like, man, this girl has so much future ahead of her, and she was taking way too soon. And you can see her right here. She has some articles in this news, and you can see she's the founder and CEO of EcoMap Technologies, a Baltimore-based startup that creates platforms that make it possible for people to easily navigate any ecosystem. Again, she was the chief ecosystem officer, right? And so including local business communities, entire industries, and even corporate networks. She is also the founder and former board chair of Innovate MD, as well as the founder of the Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures Accelerator and TCO Labs. LaPere believes hyperlocal, ecosystem-based economic development will create a more equitable future for all communities. If that doesn't tell you in a nutshell what her focus was, my gosh, this girl, you can tell she's about the future of the ecosystem based economic development. She's about making and paving the way for the upcoming people. And you can see some of the articles as recent as March 29, 2023. 3 ways to strengthen tech ecosystem following SVB's collapse. And she was the author of this. And so she was a big part of it. She was a big part of all of this. And you can even see other articles where they talked about her. She wasn't the person writing the articles. This is other people talking about her. And to be a part of Johns Hopkins, that's a big deal. So this is a prime example of who was taken from this world. Now, here's the truth. As humans, I firmly believe we're here to make a difference. She was making a difference. But she won't get an opportunity to continue making that difference because she was not protected by the system. The system, in my opinion, has failed her. And that's where it's like, now we just got to see, could have been prevented. How can we prevent this from happening in other instances, right? Jason Billingsley, he was apprehended by law enforcement at a train station approximately 30 miles away from where LaPere, 26 years old, was found. And again, she was found on the roof of her upscale apartment building in Mount Vernon in the neighborhood. And, it's like, come to find out that he did this to 2 people beforehand. It's like, come on. And you can see the building where Pava was with her last breath. And her parents, her family, they're shocked by this. Her friends, they're all shocked by this. And now we wait to see, okay, what next? But we find out that this is the basement where the prime suspect is believed to have RAPED and set fire to the innocent couple just 1 week prior, in a grim reminder of this horrific crime that has been committed by Jason Billingsley, the 32-year-old who was apprehended, as I shared, at the train station 30 miles away. So he was on the run. He knew they were looking for him. But it took him 2 days to get 30 miles, either a lot of walking or a lot of hiding and then moving. I don't really know. But he was found, they finally tracked him. And they had been tracking him since September 20th because of the first crime. So they literally knew, this is our target from September 19th. Let's start getting eyes on him. Let's start tracking him. Let's start seeing his whereabouts. So they were already trying to catch up to him. They just didn't catch up to him quick enough. And here's the sad part, is that they did not make the community aware. After this couple was injured like this, they did not make the couple aware that this guy is on the loose and we're looking for him. He's a danger. They believed because it was targeted on September 19th that the community wasn't in danger. That would be false. And so now they're exploring potential connections between Pava's killing and that unresolved case of arson and sexual assault on a young couple nearby in West Baltimore. And the suspect in the earlier incident is alleged to have posed as a maintenance worker to gain entry into the couple's townhouse on September 19th. Now, what we are finding out today is that he actually worked in that building, that he actually knew those victims from the September 19th incident. And there was some type of they knew each other. We don't know how. The assistant chief said they are not trying to say anything negative about the victim. They want to keep it in a positive. They don't want to say anything, so they didn't want to share how they knew each other. So maybe there's more to the story behind that. But in this September 19th incident, in the couple's townhouse where he then tried to burn, as you can see, he then proceeded to tie them up in a basement bedroom. He did the unthinkable to the young woman at knife point. Again, his MO, while her partner helplessly looked on. And ultimately, he sets the room on fire. And reports indicate that he then leaves his victims to die in the fire, leaving the community horrified and desperate for answers. And so this harrowing ordeal, it began when firefighters responded to smoke emanating from a basement on Edmondson Avenue at this building on around 9:24 in the morning of September 19th. A man and a woman, both 26 years old, they were rescued but suffered extensive burns and injuries. There was also a 5-year-old child that was found upstairs enduring smoke inhalation. And according to law enforcement sources, the attacker initially targeted the woman, subjecting her to what we will say as SA, and doing the worst you can do to someone's throat with a knife, I would basically say. And so while the child is in the process of recovery, the two adults, they remain in critical condition. And as I shared, this is Jason's MO, his modus operandi. He, the way he gets in there, he pretends to be a maintenance worker. He pretends to be your friend. He gains access to the victim's home, restraining the male partner in the September 19 incident and inflicting horrific violence upon the female. And the pattern of behavior, it aligns with Billingsley's criminal history, which includes that conviction for a 2013 assault, where he there poses as a good Samaritan before strangling and doing, the worst to a woman at knife point. And his prior offense resulted in him being sentenced to 30 years with 16 years suspended and 5 years of supervised probation. However, he was able to secure in October 2022 release, despite his original release being dated 2043. So this guy got out early. Now, this guy here, he was kind of giving his feedback in an interview with, I would guess, Lay Green for DailyMail.com, where he was saying he was shocked by this. He couldn't believe something like this can happen right there in the way. And he literally said, the way, I'm paraphrasing a bit, about he just left them there to die in the fire. This guy, just, a person in the community blown away at these actions. And so this raises some serious concerns about the effectiveness of rehabilitation, monitoring, and early release policies within the criminal justice system. And so the Baltimore Police Department, they had issued an arrest warrant for Billingsley, describing him as a repeat violent offender who he posed a continued threat to society. The problem is, it was late by the time they got that out. They got it out after the murder. They didn't get it out before the murder. They thought, we know who we're looking for. We're not going to worry the community. And lo and behold, someone in the community was taken away. And so now investigators, they're reviewing cases dating back to October of 2022 to see if there are any additional connections involving Billingsley. There is a chance there may very well be. This tragic case serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need for comprehensive reform in the criminal justice system. It highlights the failures of rehabilitation, monitoring, and early release policies that put innocent lives at risk. It is our responsibility as a society to prioritize public safety and protect ourselves from repeat offenders. We must demand effective measures to prevent such incidents from occurring in the future, because she did not deserve this, and no one could deny that. And we find now that after the press conference on Tuesday, when they announced him as the murder suspect, guess what? Jason was watching that press conference. As soon as that press conference, he saw that they are after him, he jetted. And it wasn't long before they were there, but he was already gone. So they knew who they were looking for. They just put it out there way too late. And so Jason, he had been on the run since Monday when officers answering the missing persons report discovered her body with signs of blunt force trauma in the apartment building in Mount Vernon. And so we find out in today's press conference that she was actually murdered on September 22nd on a Friday, but she wasn't found until the 25th when they put the missing persons report, and then they went to respond over there. And now that's what we find out in today's press conference. It was previously reported that her body was found partially clothed and beaten on the apartment building's roof. And police, finally, when they put the word in the search out, they described the 32-year-old as armed and dangerous, later saying that he was also wanted in connection with an arson, attempted murder, and rape at a family home on September 19th. In that case, a man, woman, and 5-year-old were hospitalized, as I just shared with you. And so it's like, why didn't you put this out right away? This is where it breaks my heart, because I feel like maybe she would still be here today. And it's stories like this that absolutely break my heart. And the Baltimore Police Department, they said that in that instance, Billingsley and the family were known to each other. They did not believe there was a previous connection between the suspect and LaPere. Billingsley, again, detained just last night, and the acting police commissioner, he has some harsh words to say about him as well, because to him, he even referred to him as a psychopath. And he says, we are going to put this violent individual, this repeat offender, back in jail where he belongs. That's what Commissioner Richard Worley told reporters today. He said, he's a psychopath. Yes, I agree with that 100%, because this guy has some major issues, obviously, right? But, the question is, how can the system prevent this from happening from someone else? How can the system prevent this from happening to anyone else? Because this guy is a danger and a menace, and she deserves justice, right? And so we know that the first victim was targeted before killing the tech CEO. Now, Baltimore police, they're being slammed for their response to questions about former convict Jason Billingsley's alleged killing of 26-year-old tech, right? And so you can even hear the reporters in the crowd when they were asking the questions, and you can tell that I was like, man, that guy's pretty upset. The reporter was upset because there was no words put out about this dangerous man on the loose. I truly will say that they made a mistake by not putting the word out. And that's just my opinion, and it's worth a hill of beans in the long run, because maybe they did the right thing, maybe they did the normal thing. I don't know. I just feel like in this particular scenario, obviously 2020, hindsight is always 2020, right? We wish that they put out the beware, on the lookout. We are looking for this person. Keep all eyes out. He is a danger to society. And so he says that Billingsley suspected murder of LaPere, it was random, but the September 19th was not an act of random violence. It wasn't a random act of violence. And now we're like, okay, so you're saying that this could have probably been prevented because that was targeted and you guys thought no one's else gonna get hurt. And so reporters there, they question and they criticize the police efforts in tracking Billingsley, given his previous criminal history and the subsequent knowledge that his first victims were targeted. And Worley, he said that, he referred to him as a psychopath, as I shared, but he caused he says there was a delay because he was evading cops. Like literally, they were so close to catching him, was his thought process. They thought they were almost up to him, but they wouldn't actually catch him until Wednesday, when he already committed this on Friday, and they didn't even know about it until Monday. And thank the Lord that they finally tracked him, because they had ways of tracking him. But how could they not prevent Pava LaPere? I don't really know. And I'm not, I'm just upset that she's not here when I feel like this. She should definitely be here. And police, they received the missing person report over the phone before heading to her residence. And the 26-year-old, that's when they finally, they knew she's not here. And they have not shared what the cause of death is yet. We just know blunt force trauma. And he was named a suspect right away. And the commissioner said that the individual will kill and he will rape. Well, why didn't you know this beforehand? He already did this in 2013. He just did this again. And you didn't think to say anything to the world? This is where my mind is absolutely blown away. And now, with his extensive criminal record, now we wait to see what happens. Because this guy, he was arrested in 2009, 2011, 2013 for alleged crimes, including a sex offense, second-degree assault, robbery. And, so he pleads guilty to that violent RAPE charge in 2015. And then he's convicted and sentenced to 30 years. But he would be out in 7. And records describe how he chokes the victim and forced her to perform oral stuff on him. Sickening. My gosh, this is a type of person that you need to be alert and have all around you. He was a bad person. She was recognized in the famed Forbes 30 under 30 list for her efforts. She had so much. She created EcoMap technologies from her dorm room at 22 years old while she was in college at Johns Hopkins University. And EcoMap, it's located on a different floor in the same building as LaPere's apartment. And they released a statement about the CEO's death. And they said that the circumstances surrounding Pava's death are deeply distressing. And our deepest condolences are with her family, friends, and loved ones during this incredibly devastating time. That's what the company wrote. And they said Pava was not only the visionary force behind EcoMap, but also a deeply compassionate and dedicated leader. And so now we're going to wait to see what happens in his next court date. I will definitely keep us on the ball with this, on all of that. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, because my friends, here's me and my reason, because truth is, it's not about me. She deserves a voice. She was taken from this world way, way too young. So Pava, she deserves a voice, and that's the whole purpose here. You need to know her story, because she was taken from this world way too soon by an act of violence that could have been prevented. And I say could have been prevented, not because this lunatic shouldn't be a lunatic, but because he should have still been in prison a lot longer than 7 years. It's almost disrespect to the judge or whoever sentenced him, because obviously 30 years and 7 years is maybe you sold way too much drugs or something like that. 30 years, you committed the unthinkable. Letting him out in 7 years means no respect for the public, no respect for the judicial system. To me, that's a slap in a bunch of people's face. But this guy started committing crimes at a young age, and no one thought to say anything or do anything. So that's where I'm a little frustrated about what has happened, because I feel bad for her, right? And at the end of the day, this is not about me. This is about being a voice for her. Rest in peace, Pava LaPere, taken from this world way too soon. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Deep True Crime. Until next time, peace.